Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! Here goes the mother! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
We need if you can survive!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my good brother from the Fight Game Podcast, is John LaRocca. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Glad to be back on the show.
I know. I'm so happy to have you back on. I'm now at the point now, like, you know, since you become like a regular on this thing. By the way, thank you for, you know, making the time as always. But, like now I'm at the point, like, when it comes to like talking to you, it's like, okay, what topics, what fun things we can get into, that I haven't had a chance to talk to maybe with the other guys that helped me out with, In The Kliq here. So I was like, I was getting kind of super amped up. And so with that being said, I was typing all my notes just now, or I say within the last hour. And then, you know, living out here in the Bay Area, we're having like a big rainstorm coming in, rain coming down, it's windy. And where I live here in Alameda, my whole house, the power went out. And it came back on within a few seconds, but my computer turned on and off and I lost all my notes. I'm like, wow, I guess now I know what it feels like when a musician is like, F it, like throws the tapes out and let's start recording from scratch all over again. So, yeah, I'm kind of winging it right now, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yeah. And it's so funny because, you know, living out here in the Bay Area, when we get any kind of storm, rain, wind, we're like, it's freezing. You know, like everywhere else you take talking, you're like, how? It was 40 degrees? I'm in shorts for 40 degrees. What are you talking about? You know, we're just, we like to complain out here in California because we're used to the sun and the fun and all that stuff,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it's, I know today, like I was freezing, like, so, in my office here where I work at home, I'm like layering up. I got my hoodie on. Shout out to, who's this one? Maggie McGarry's a great little pub in San Francisco who hooked me up with this hoodie. Last year I was actually like cleaning some stuff in the house and I found this buried, actually no, I was moving some furniture in our house here and I found this was like sitting in our back room. I was like, oh, that's where that went. I better start wearing it. So I threw it on. Now, yeah, with the cold weather, I'm all good. But then, when the power was out, I was like, well, I better go run some quick errands before I have to record here. So went outside to get some gas. And man, it is like a full blown, like windy conditions right now. I'm like, so to the fellow Kliqsters out there, you know, please be safe. I think this is supposed to go on for like what, the next week and a half, supposedly, like this big old rainstorm.
Well, no, a few more days. And then this weekend looks kind of cloudy, at least on San Jose, my end. My little weather, my iPhone was telling me.
Yeah.
And then some more rain again. And it's crazy. And my parents, they live in Auburn. They're supposed to come to town to San Jose to visit us. But
oh, really?
They're like, yeah, we don't want to drive in the rain. And so my kids still got another Christmas coming up. And it's going to probably be in February. So
it's to make good for the grandparents.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So
okay.
My mom's like, I just want to. I have all these presents. I can't, you know. And I'm like, Mom, don't worry. The kids will be excited for Christmas. It can happen in February, March, or July. They don't care. You know, presents are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And shout out to you, by the way. I saw that. Looks like your son is really taking up baseball. He's becoming a little.
Santa brought a T-ball little wiffle ball set, which I want to get. And I want to play. And I want to hit. I hit a couple. You know, I got to hold back a little bit because I don't want the ball to go in the next door neighbor's house. But yeah, my son, he's trying to get his grip going.
Nice.
My daughter, like, she's 5. She has a pretty good swing. She takes direction well. So maybe softball might be in her future.
Yeah.
Or maybe baseball. You never know how things are changing. So
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. No, I'm just so happy to see you having all the fun things you're doing with your kids while you're at home and whatnot. So that's very cool. But but thank you once again to all the Kliqsters for tuning in. As always, please subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Let's see, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all the major podcast platforms. Thank you for everyone who've been leaving comments over on Apple Podcasts and YouTube, all the new subscribers there. So thank you. Things been looking really awesome. And inthetliq@gmail.com. And get the merch over at Teespring. So a lot of good things. 2021 has been off to a pretty good start. So I'm looking forward to what's next for us throughout the rest of the year. So, John, having you on, I was trying to think, okay, what can we talk about? And there's one big topic you and I have been going back and forth privately in our private conversations about, which we will get to in a second, but then some big breaking news happened in the world of pro wrestling, specifically sports entertainment and WWE. So in case you missed or you've been living under a rock, it was announced yesterday that WWE is going to be, I see everyone's initially the headlines were shutting down the WWE network. And I think that's a little misleading. I want to say not necessarily shutting down, but just moving it over. That's how I like to say it. Migrating, I think it's a good word. So moving over the WWE network under the NBC Universal / the Peacock app, a streaming service. It's going to be available in there now. I believe starting March 18th officially. So if you want to access the WWE network, you just have to take one extra step and log on to Peacock. That's the NBC Universal app that they have. Like, everyone's having like streaming apps now and creating all that stuff. So it's exciting stuff, man. So, John, I just want to get your initial reaction, and then we'll kind of go over some of the details that I can remember off memory here. But yeah, just kind of your initial, when you heard the news, what was your initial takeaway?
First, I was a little disappointed because I love my WWE app. I throw it on. I just been watching Wrestling Challenge from 1986. They dropped a bunch of episodes. I'm just like, I can go right to it. It's there. But now I'm like, what I have to do extra now? But then I realized it's on Peacock.
Yeah.
Which I already have Peacock for free.
Mm-hmm.
Our company, you have it too as well. Comcast, Indy. So which is cool. So I'm saving some money there, right? So that on me, that's cool. I'm curious to see how the commercials are going to affect the shows. Is it going to be like, say, if I click on NXT UK, will I just get one commercial before NXT UK plays, or a couple are going to pop up through the middle of the show, Mm-hmm. So all that I'm kind of curious to know about, but I think it's a good move from WWE. I don't think WWE ever does anything. Like, they want to do it if it's a bad move, right? Mm-hmm. They never do that. They've always been like the cutting edge of like extreme, in my opinion. Remember they started this network, we're like, what? Mm-hmm. They're going to put everything on this network, and they're going to all the pay-per-views, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, etc. And we're like, they're nuts. They're nuts, but they made it work.
Yeah.
So, and I want to see, so I think, this 5-year deal, which is for a lot of money. I think people are said billion, right?
$1 billion, yeah.
$1 billion. I mean, they're already making more money than they are on the network now with it, right? With that deal. It's for 5 years, but who's to say they won't extend that? Who's to say that they could use that if it does well for Peacock to where they could, negotiate another streaming service to go over there, because streaming services are looking for content to keep, we like one minute you see The Office is on Netflix. We got The Office, all seasons of The Office. Now it's all on Peacock, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting, the streaming games, I guess we should call them the streaming wars or games. I don't know, but yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, the streaming wars, that's probably the best way to describe it, because so think about like what back in the day, it was the battle of the networks, what Fox and NBC, ABC, CBS, you and I, growing up, that was the big thing, all the networks on, basic TV and then cable, and then the cable wars. And so, yeah, now here we are in this whole streaming wars that's going on. So, yeah, as you just touched on, so for everyone that's interested about the details, so it's 5 years, $1 billion, so what, $200 million a year. And yeah, everything will migrate over starting March 18th. So you just log on to Peacock, and I guess they'll have probably like a WWE Network button, or, Disney Plus, for example, has like Star Wars, Marvel, National Geographic. It'd be just, I would assume just like that.
I think, yeah, it's going to be like you see WWE like icon, click it, and now you're in the network like you've been before, I think.
Yeah.
For the most part. I'm sure it'll look a little different, but it should be pretty similar, I'm sure.
And that's what I'm excited about. So come to details with that. So when you click on it, it'll pop up and it'll have everything that we all love, all the archive stuff, the matches, the pay-per-views, the in-ring shows, NXT UK, 205 Live, all the outside stuff, Raw, SmackDown, NXT replays will be there, the documentaries that they do. And I believe they're going to bring back like the 24/7 channel aspect of it. So when you log on, there might be just a continuous, like it's a live channel just playing whatever programming they have scheduled. But then, if you don't want to watch what they're just currently showing you, you can just go ahead and skim through the different, options and pick out something you want to watch in real time or whenever you want. So I'm excited for that as well. So yeah, it's let's see, also with the network. So you think about it, depending on the numbers, I think it was like and this is all happening just in America only. So I don't know what their plans are for other parts of the world, but here in America, that's what's going to happen with us. And for me, I know a lot of people are like, oh man, I don't want to do this. For me, it's just one extra step. It's not that big of a deal. And I know with Peacock, they have a free version. But the WWE Network will not be accessible through that. You need the minimum one is the Peacock Premium, which is $4.99, and then they have which has some commercials. The $9.99 version, which will have no commercials or no ads at all. So, and then as you said, for the $4.99 one, if you have a Comcast plan, I already did it. So I logged on to the Peacock app last night. I linked up my Xfinity info, and boom, I already have access to it. So I'm like, awesome. I guess technically I will be getting WWE Network free now, as far as at least, I still pay Xfinity every month. And which is interesting, man. Like, remember like 5 years ago, I think it was about 5 years ago, the whole like cut the cord movement. Everyone's like, get rid of your cable and just go like get Netflix and like one or two other streaming services. But now I feel like there's so many streaming services out there that all adds up. And I think a lot of people are paying just as much as they used to with a cable plan. I never got rid of my cable. And now the great thing about, at least with my Xfinity, a lot of these other streaming services, I log on with my Xfinity info and it automatically gives me a free access to it. So I don't know. It all kind of balances out in the end, I feel like, as far as what you pay month to month. So for me, it lucks out. So I guess for right now, when WWE moves over to Peacock, I can just get the $4.99 version. I will have some ads, and if I want to upgrade to $9.99, that is their option there. And then I could, so be paying the same like what I'm currently paying right now, or I could technically get it for free, but with my Xfinity info. So I'm curious what you say, how the ads are going to work out, and therefore,
I was curious if, for us specifically for Xfinity, like we got premium, which is the $4.99 version.
Yeah.
We go to Comcast, say, hey, we want the no commercials. Do we pay just $5 more?
Ooh, good point.
Or do we pay $10? But that doesn't make sense. I would think we pay $5 more, right?
Yeah.
Something to call up the Xfinity people. I'll do that for the show.
Thank you. Please research.
I'll do the heavy lifting here.
Thank you. sit on hold for like an hour waiting for them.
I'm working from home, so I can do this. So
there you go. Well, I'm like you said, I'm excited. I think for me, like I said, I'm excited. Like, I'll get this for free now, and I'll save like theoretically $10 a month now. And with that being said, with the network, I'm curious how they're going to migrate everyone over. Is it like one day on March 18th, the network will just disappear and like all your info's brought over there? So the whole transition of this is going to be really interesting. So as far as the logistics go, so in America, I think I've heard different numbers. WWE Network averages like 1.1 to like 1.3 million subscribers. I've heard that number kind of vary a little bit. So let's see. I was trying to do some math on trying to see the money side of it all. So let's do 1.3 million times $10. So it's about 13 million a month. And then times 12, 156 million. So theoretically, if they're getting paid 200 million a year from Peacock, dude, like, it makes sense. They're making so much extra money just for having someone else kind of host the network and run it for them. So financially, that's a great situation for them. And so, but then again, you got to take into account, okay, the $4.99 aspects. I wonder how much. This is all guaranteed money that they're going to get. So from a business standpoint, amazing, smart move for Vince McMahon. Once again, Vince McMahon proves he's like the ultimate business guy here.
They're like I said, they're on the cutting edge of streaming. They're usually ahead of the game. And when it comes to deals like this, Vince really doesn't make bad deals, or WWE doesn't make bad deals like this. So I'm sure they looked at everything and they I'm sure Peacock on its own, like, because if you did you watch Peacock Network before this, or just didn't
no?
Really?
I downloaded it, but I never really accessed it.
Like, we have, I'm always like, I like old classic shows. They have some, like, everybody loves Raymond. I know, like, a lot of people.
Yeah.
I like classic kind of sitcom family situation stuff. It's a quick, easy watch. They had some other cool shows I checked out. There's an Australian comedy called 5 Bedrooms I got really into. Like,
nice.
Gave it a shot one day, and I'm just dying laughing. And then there was this sci-fi show that only lasted like a year, but the one season, Brave New World, was really good, I thought. And so I watched that with Alden Ehrenreich, who was Han Solo in Solo. So I checked it out because he was in it. I really like that guy.
Okay, right on.
Great actor. So it was good. So I already got the feel of what Peacock has. So, to me, this is cool. And I think Peacock started throwing WWE content on there. They started throwing some of the old 24/7s, and they started showing old WrestleManias and old big shows, matches. Most of the documentary stuff I think they mostly had on there. I didn't watch them. I've seen them all, or most of them. So I'm pretty sure on their end they probably saw how much people were interested on those, clicking on those. So maybe they're like, hey, let's capitalize on this WWE stuff. It's doing well for our network. So.
And that's the thing also, I think people should keep in mind is, so Peacock launched, I think, last summer, and I think July. They're up to like 26 million subscribers, which is a good number, but like, I think Disney Plus has like 100 million something subscribers. Netflix has like a couple 200 something million subscribers. So, it's still like a big difference, but at least they're making strides to, catch up. And in order to get subscribers, you need content. And WWE, they make content all throughout the year with the pay-per-views, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. So it's a big deal. And obviously they have their relationship because, so I believe, is it, okay, NBC Universal, is it NBC Universal owns Comcast, or Comcast owns NBC Universal? I get kind of confused on like who's like, which company owns what.
NBC under umbrellas like USA Network and all that stuff, which is the Peacock. So it's all kind of, the relationship's already there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I was getting at, was like, okay, Raw and NXT are on USA Network, which is under or owned by NBC, which therefore owns Peacock. So they're like, okay, we pay for this TV deal for them. Like, let's have this on Peacock as well. So it makes sense. And I think for WWE, okay, you have like 1.3 million network subscribers in America. Peacock says 26 million. So theoretically, that number, hopefully people, when they start logging in their Peacock accounts, come March, maybe they'll see the new like WWE button and they'll want to start watching it again. Maybe there were some casual fans from back in the day who just tuned out, but then maybe they'll start seeing it. So then they'll kind of like, oh, hey, I remember WWE. I was a big Stone Cold fan back in the day or something. They want to start watching it again. So maybe that's also for WWE. Maybe they can kind of get some new fans that way through this streaming service. So I think it's all mostly positive. And I know, I think also with this 5-year deal, there's, they're going to like do like one big documentary a year, which I believe kind of like a last ride type of thing. So I'm kind of curious what other, who could be like the next big documentary that they'll focus on. I mean, I think Stone Cold was rumored to be getting something. But I don't know if that was
Vince
like
is getting one on Netflix though, right?
Yeah, that was on Netflix. So
yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. But
Hogan be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, God.
His life now, all his trials and tribulations that he went through with the scandal, from the highs
Absolutely.
of his career to the scandal to the stuff with his family and everything.
Yeah. And I know they have like the Icons show coming out on the network, which I'm looking forward to as well. But then I think like this is separate. Like some people are doing like something with A&E. I don't know if you saw something about that, like
That's
WWE
right.
and A&E.
Right. They got their iron. They got their irons on all these different kind of fires, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they do. I mean, just look like this. Just today, they aired the Superstar Spectacular for India because they got the India going, and that's bringing money. And obviously, India pays good money. I mean, shoot, I think Impact survives on the India money for a long time. It's keeping afloat from just the money from India. So, yeah, man, this WWE, the machine just keeps rolling.
My only concern is, okay, now that like NBC technically is going to be running or overseeing the WWE network, I wonder if there's any content on there on the network currently that they might want to take off or censor in some way. You know what I mean? Like, my only concern, would they be like, that one old match, was kind of violent. Maybe we don't want that on there anymore.
Well, they have movies on there, violent movies on there, not just network television stuff. They have a movie section, which has rated R movies, horror movies. So, I mean, I hope they don't really get upset with blood and some
ECW.
I don't think they know what that is.
It's a little secret. Keep it just for us to search out. So that was my one thing. I know, like, think about it, like all the 24 docs that they make and some of these other network specials. I know like WWE, they were making all those things as to create extra content and give us, fans a reason to keep subscribing every month. So I wonder now that they have like this big payday, I wonder, would they slow down making those on the regular? I hope not. I really enjoy all those. Like, I enjoyed Drew McIntyre's documentary on it.
I think that helps with the character profiles of guys and get people to get kind of more invested into the wrestlers and the characters. I'm pretty sure 205 Live's gonna stick around now. Like that. I'm glad that on the presser they listed NXT UK.
Yeah,
so that's not going anywhere. I always kind of wonder, but I mean, what they're gonna do? They had this whole PC up there and everything, but I was always a little, because the way the world is right now, you just never know, But I'm glad they're committed to NXT UK because it's a good product.
And I don't know, have you been keeping track of the NBC Sports Network situation that's been going on?
Yes, with the sports possibly movies to USA Network, which could bump NXT off Wednesdays, which cut out our fun of NXT versus AEW, which to me there's two shows happening the same night, and it's not like Nitro and Raw, like where there's really like monster ratings from each and it's really highly competitive. It's just they're talking 700, 800,000 viewers compared to 50 to 700,000 viewers.
Yeah, exactly. So for anyone who didn't hear, like so honestly, when that, I think, news broke last Friday, I ran down to my sister station, KBR, and I was like talking to some of my coworkers, like, hey, you guys see this? And honestly, I saw Dave Meltzer's like tweet about or responding to it. And so I went for like one of the older tweets that had maybe like one of the original announcements. And I went to show my coworkers, and none of them heard the news yet. And usually, like breaking news in sports world, my coworkers know all about it in advance. I'm like, I would think this is kind of a big deal. Like NBC Sports Network is shutting down by the end of the year, and it looks like all the sporting events that they do show there, are going to move over to the USA Network. So like NASCAR and the NHL. And I know with the NHL, that takes place mostly on Wednesday nights, I believe. And so therefore the question is what happens to NXT UK? So yeah, as you just said,
NXT.
Or did I say NXT? I'm sorry. Yeah, NXT. Yeah. Sorry. You got me thinking about NXT UK still. So,
but yeah, I know it's that would kind of suck. I mean, I kind of like it on USA, and that it's been fun. Wednesday night's been fun. I mean,
I know
it's fun. I'm a nut. I have to watch like 4 hours of wrestling that night because
I know
Thursday night. So maybe it's best for me to have it on separate nights. I don't know.
Yeah. So like, it'd be interesting. Yeah, if once things move, I mean, this all would probably take place later in the year. I know NXT's contract with USA is up this October. NBC Sports Network shuts down in the year. So all of it kind of lines up pretty nicely for all these different shifts might be going on. So yeah, if like NHL takes Wednesday nights on USA Network, does NXT yet move to Tuesday or Thursday, or just be available exclusively just back on the network again through Peacock? And that'll kind of reinforce, people getting Peacock. So I'm with you. Like, I do like it on the USA Network. I think it really solidifies NXT UK as a strong third brand that's on cable network. But I mean, I'm going to tune in no matter where it's on. I mean, that for me, like you and I, we're hooked already, so it doesn't really matter. But I think, I mean, I kind of like when it was on Tuesdays. It was kind of cool. Like, it had its dedicated time, and it was like getting master or big ratings for them. So I don't know. I mean, the powers that be will decide the future of NXT.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the NXT ratings have been gangbusters, either. So was it something they're like, hey, I think what they pay like $50 million for that show?
I think it was $30 million. Yeah, $30 million.
Oh, well, shoot.
Damn it. The lotto.
Pocket change to us, right? But still, they're paying $30 million. So is that like, for them, is that cheap to have a show that does that ratings? Is it still good? Yeah, I don't know. That's for the real TV experts to kind of dig through. But but I hope it doesn't go anywhere. I hope it stays on USA. I like the third brand on. I like NXT being on the US Network and USA Network. So
yeah,
hopeful.
No, like I said, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you and I, it's not going to be that big of a difference. I know, like I said, some of my coworkers were pissed off, like, oh, I don't want to deal all this. I'm like, it's just one extra step. Like, you got to log on to Peacock, and like I said, you and I, we already got Peacock, the premium free with Comcast. So if I have no problem sitting through a couple commercials here and there. So, I mean, if I can get that free, save my $10 a month, awesome. I'll put it towards something else, maybe like some more action figures or something like that.
Here again, though, I'm telling you, every time I click on the W Network and every time I click on a show, I get that same Royal Rumble commercial, like every time I click. And then, like, for some reason, I had to rewind something, and I logged me completely out of the show I was watching, so I had to re-click on it. And that was going to start right where I clicked off. No, it took me to the beginning, and I got that Royal Rumble commercial again. I'm like, yeah, I know it's coming up. You don't need to give me a Total Divas commercial. I don't care. I'm begging you. Ms. and Mrs. Just give me any other commercial. I don't care. Just give me Vince McMahon saying hi to me. Just give me anything, dude. I don't care. Just the same Royal Rumble commercial over and over. They just last month with the TLC pay-per-view. It's like, jeez, this commercial one time, my head's gonna explode.
It's interesting that, like, also, I mean, I think for some people, they're trying to think of it as, okay, well, I can still pay $9.99 a month, like I'm always doing, and I still get WWE Network, but now I get access to the whole NBC archive of, like you said, The Office and Saturday Night Live and all those other great things. So
yeah, there's some good shows on there. I mean, you get some extra content, some extra access, some movies you haven't probably seen. It's just whatever. It's good to have that. Then again, we have way too many options, right? Like, I don't know if you ever do this. Like, go on. Yeah, I'm gonna go see if I'm gonna watch them on Netflix. I'm scanning for like an hour. Then I'm like, nah, I'm gonna watch YouTube. It's just like,
dude, I think I watch more on YouTube.
Wrestling, like, oh god, La Rocca, just watch some movies,
Oh my god, like you're right. Like, I think I spend more time watching stuff on YouTube than like Netflix and stuff. Like, I was trying to show my dad how to use Netflix, and like there's so much to watch here. And he's like, "What do you want to watch?" He's like, "I don't know."
Yeah. Bing, bing.
I mean, at least like Disney Plus. Watching The Mandalorian. I've been watching WandaVision. So like I have some like specific things to watch. I got like Amazon Prime when I was buying all my computer stuff, and I wanted the faster delivery. And then I was like, oh yeah, I have access to the movie. So I watched like the Borat movie, the new one. And then I was like, okay, what else can I watch? I was like, I've been meaning to watch The Boys, but I need to sit down and do that. And then I was like, I'll watch it, but then I'll probably cancel my Amazon Prime because like I don't use Amazon a lot for like buying stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, let me watch the TV show.
Sucker. My wife, I got more packages coming to my door, and I was like, hey, another one. But the Amazon Prime's cool for me. I dig it because They also have some really funky wrestling on there, like some classic stuff. You look for wrestling.
Okay.
You get like old USWA stuff. Steve Austin was younger.
Really?
Just weird shit, and then, I mean, good, but also just random, right? But also for me, like, I like older movies from like the 80s. It's like just or old horror or sci-fi.
Yeah.
Italian sci-fi is like totally out there B movie crap, right? So like they have a lot of that stuff for me on Amazon Prime. So I if I'm looking for something retro, I just kind of jump on there.
Yeah, and I know we've been spending a lot of time on this. So just one last thing is, did you hear kind of like a little bit the fallout now with WWE and ESPN because of all this? Like, so last year I remember there was rumors that WWE wanted to start, or Vince at least wanted to start like outsourcing or licensing different, major pay-per-views, like the big four pay-per-views, to other streaming platforms, and you pay us, a fee for that. And I know like a couple of two big executives that he had working for him, he let them go because they just want to focus on the network, while Vince wanted to expand. And the rumor was like maybe ESPN Plus, like WrestleMania will be available on ESPN Plus. Didn't work out at the time, obviously with the pandemic and stuff. But now here we are with this Peacock deal. It looks that's what Vince wanted. He wanted someone else to pay him for his content, and he's getting that. But now ESPN is pissed off, and now I guess apparently the rumor is like no more WWE content, or it's banned.
Oh no, shucks. Like I don't think ESPN is ESPN of like I know it's still a big network, but nothing to where it's like I think it's gonna really hurt WWE as much. So I think they're fine. $100 billion for 5 years. Fox deal still going for a couple more years. India, they got so much going on. I'm sure they're they could pay us, and they wouldn't even know. Like, we'd be like Office Space, the guy from Office Space. We still pay that guy, that'll be us.
Red Stapler,
we get lockers, getting checks just because they can afford it. And they wouldn't care. They wouldn't.
Exactly. Well, and then so it makes you wonder, like, what's SmackDown's fate? I know, like, 4 more years left on the deal with Fox, but could they eventually?
Well with Fox though, they're not there. There's an over 2 million rating, for the most part. I mean, they've had some, but it's so awesome. Before the pandemic, they were really doing really great on there, and they saw the potential after that Dallas game, right? The rating they had after that football game. So I think it's a good fit. Friday nights, which is usually like a harder day to draw, a rating. So yeah, I think it's a good marriage. I think they'll want to continue that.
And also, I'm wondering, okay, SmackDown's fate in the near future, keep track of. But I wonder if, NBC, could they eventually just try to buy WWE from Vince McMahon? I personally don't think Vince will ever give it up. But
when he passes away, you never know, right?
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, in 5 years,
Disney could be one.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff. I mean, this is all just us, you and I, fantasy talking about down the road, but just stuff to kind of keep your eye on and see how other new deals could happen in the near future. So anyway, it's the streaming world that we live in now, and TV consumption, and it's really fascinating to me. When I saw the news breaking, I was like, wow, this is just so interesting to me. And just I'll do it all. I'll consume it all. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere. So we'll see. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So a topic that you and I have been throwing back and forth with one another for the last few weeks. And I think you and I are pretty much on the same page. And it's something I think it really deserves like an open discussion, which is Kenny Omega, AEW, this partnership with Impact Wrestling. There's a lot to dissect here. And I think you and I are on the same page as far as I don't think it's been executed properly, or it could be handled a lot better up until this point. For me, and like you said, I think was it last week you did a podcast on the Fight Game podcast, Kyle? You pretty much said it's been botched, right? Is that to sum it up?
Which upset the natives. They got upset.
So for me, where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we'll go through kind of like the timeline of things from how I'm trying to explain it all. So where I'm coming from is, and this is what you and I were talking off the air a little bit, if you were to take someone, non-wrestling fan, who hasn't been keeping track of Kenny Omega and everything he's been up to pretty much since all out, I want to say. I think that's where kind of things started to change for him. If you were to sit them down and just explain to them what's been going on, if that person has any sort of common sense, they would realize it doesn't make sense. This story, a lot of the plot holes, motivation of people involved here, it doesn't make sense. And based on that kind of just that idea, the more I just think about it, I'm like, I'm watching Impact and AEW the last few weeks. I mean, definitely the last 6 weeks where all this stuff's been going on. And I'm like, a lot of it doesn't make sense of just like, what is going on here? So, I guess, John, for you, go ahead if you want, maybe if you can't explain why, in your opinion, this whole thing's been kind of just botched so far.
Well, when they did the turn and Kenny Omega won the title on Moxley, Don Callis, swerved them all, and now they're going to Impact, and like not once has anyone of management been upset with Don Callis and Omega. He still can go on the show. There's like Tony Khan, we don't see him other than we see him as a heel on Impact, which totally makes no sense. Other than I think he's just having fun in someone else's sandbox and getting his kicks there. But like we saw him just two little clips. First clip, he was upset, yelling at Don Callis as him and Omega ran down the hallway into their limo and got out. We saw but like if you didn't know who Tony Khan was, you would not know who the little skinny guy is with the headset in the corner is, right? Mm-hmm. It was so quick. And then recently, 2 weeks ago now, when the Good Brothers wrestled for the first time on Impact, they cut to a little video box with the Young Bucks. So the match was going to be Omega and his buddies, the Young Bucks, in a 6-man tag. Don Callis is like, "Hey guys, you guys get your own entrance. We'll get our own. Let's make it really cool and special. Let's not do the whole elite music. Let's do something cool and just like you do your thing. You'll have your big pyro and we'll do ours." So Omega comes out, Callis gets on the mic, and he's introducing. You think he's introduce the Young Bucks? Nah, he introduces the Good Brothers who come from the side, and now they're wrestling in this match. Which should they really be allowed to wrestle? But then, anyways, they cut to Omega. They cut to Tony Khan and the Bucks watching this, and the Bucks are laughing like, we got ribbed. Like they're not pissed, they're not upset, they're not angry. Mm-hmm. Tony Khan is smiling, and then right at the end of the clip, a little shot. He finally gets a mean face on. Like, he should be upset. He should not allow the Good Brothers to be wrestling these invaders. But why can they freely just wrestle? Right? It just doesn't make sense. It just it doesn't feel like an invasion angle. I don't know if it's really an invasion angle or it's just in this week alone. After last week, the Young Bucks go to Kenny Omega's house to talk to him. He's not there. They're confronted by Don Callis. Now the Bucks are angry about what happened last week. They're laughing about it or going, "Oh shucks," the week before. Yeah. But now they're upset with Don Callis, and now apparently we're supposed to think they beat him up. Maybe not. Maybe Don Callis beat himself up to kind of get Kenny pissed off at the Bucks. Mm-hmm. But now on this week's episode, the Young Bucks are teaming with the Good Brothers against the Dark Order. So why would they want to team with the Good Brothers? I don't know if that's been explained. I don't watch BTE. I'm sorry. I can't keep up with every little thing on their social media content. But it doesn't make sense now. Why are these EVPs that we all know they talk about as being EVPs teaming up with these invaders from a different company? Just stupid.
Yeah. No, you perfectly summed it up right there. As far as, okay, so Kenny Omega, and I think listen, on paper, sure, this is awesome as far as AEW working with Impact Wrestling, 2 promotions, non-WWE promotions working together in America. We haven't seen that in a long time, maybe since Territory days, if you want to that throwback. I mean, I know, I'm trying to think, the Impact do some stuff with or TNA back in the day, but stuff on a more smaller scale maybe, but nonetheless, okay, that's cool that they're working together, but it's what's the point of all of it? for AEW, this is a company much smaller than you. So are you going to gain that much more of a following by showing up over there or working with Impact? Impact, it's a great situation for them. They're going to get a ton of exposure or mentions on Dynamite and whatnot. And hopefully people will tune into Access TV, and they've been getting a bump as of late. But yeah, now from the actual storyline though. Okay. So Kenny Omega wins the championship from Moxley at Winter is Coming back in December. He goes running off with Don Callis, and he's like, we'll go to Impact and explain all of this. So we hear this explanation, how he's the best. They've been longtime friends. But I'm like, what are you trying to accomplish here? Is this an invasion of AEW into Impact? Is this supposed to be an invasion from Impact into AEW? I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just like a new NWO and WCW. At least that story, I think, was a little more easy to understand back at the time. And that was me in middle school, high school. I could understand it at the time. And for me, I like my stories easy to understand and explain. I mean, that's why I give NXT credit. For the most part, all their storylines are pretty simple, easy to follow along, not over convoluted, like where it's kind of happening right now in AEW and Impact. So I'm like, what's the motivation of all this? Don Callis, who's like the head guy or one of the head guys over Impact, you're bringing in a champion from another company into your company that you work for. But why? Do you want him to be your champion for Impact? Or, I mean, I get you said the belt collector, that's like his new gimmick, but like, what's the point of that? Like, what's the point of having Kenny show up on Impact? Like, I just don't get it. And then, okay, obviously he's reuniting with his old Bullet Club boys, the Good Brothers. That's a cool callback for stuff in Japan. Now they're showing up on AEW Dynamite. So is that supposed to be an invasion by way of, because they're just aligning themselves with Kenny Omega? But what do they get by coming over into AEW? They're already champions in their other promotion. But what do they get by showing up in AEW? So I just don't get what the motivation is for these people in different promotions working together when it should be pretty clear. It should be like AEW versus Impact, theoretically. I think that's the easier story to tell. It's like these guys versus these guys, because there's two separate companies. But now it's like multiple guys, working together, and then multiple guys, other guys, pissed off. And then even last week, Matt Hardy and Private Party showed up, and they won the match at the end against James Storm and Chris Sabin, and now they're the new number one contenders for the Good Brothers. So the Good Brothers are defending their Impact tag titles against an AEW tag team. So I'm like, is this just talent sharing, or is this an invasion angle? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, how do I explain this to someone non-wrestling fan like you and I who've been watching? Like, we're trying to understand it. It's confusing.
Because, one show you have Tony Khan's on a Kramer personality who's a heel, and he's upset with Impact. Yet, other than Don Callis, everyone else in Impact is like just normal, right? They and the Good Brothers now, but Rich Swann didn't want this to happen. All these other guys. So why is I don't know. And then gosh.
Say no, like you and I were baffled, and like this is confusing.
When I saw Private Party, when I read that they showed up to Impact, the challenge, Gallows and Anderson, you could put the Private Party onto each shoulders, and they're not as big as Luke Gallows himself, right? And sure enough, they can get in scale and not weigh as much as Luke Gallows himself. I'm pretty sure. So maybe you stack Matt Hardy on there, he might tip the scale. But,
yes, exactly.
This is the team. Like, at least send SCU, who's like an established tag team that has some history with Impact Wrestling. That would kind of make some sense, I guess. But it's just so damn confusing. And Tony Khan needs to be an on-air character, not as a heel in AEW, but he needs to be the guy like, hey, what you guys did was wrong. You know what? Okay, I'll let you guys play your game, but we're going to kick your ass. I got, Like, I'll allow Gallows Anderson here. But trust me, they're going to go up with some stiff competition here, and we're going to show you who's better and all that kind of stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, say something. He's not. Yeah. He hasn't. They need to. And then strip Kenny Omega of his EVP. Right? He breached his contract.
Yeah.
something like that. Oh, but with AEW, the way they act, like, well, this is a storyline. This is just, like you're not going to get the heat generated. Like, people thought fucking WWF was showing up in WCW in May of '96, right, when Hall showed up and started saying, "Hey, yo," right, and then they didn't wrestle the next day on Nitro. They didn't wrestle to the pay-per-view. Great match, and finally, Eric Bischoff allowed it. WCW allowed it so we can get some retribution, on these Vaders. That's how it all planned out. These WCW was really well planned on the beginning. We can talk about the finish of it all, but it has to be something like that. Like, what is this? Where's it going? And why? Then Moxley comes. Oh, then this blew my freaking mind, right? So Moxley comes out. He fights Omega, right? He's finally experienced. He attacks Omega. The Good Brothers attack Moxley. Here comes the Young Bucks. They're trying to keep cooler heads from Omega, and but they're like, hold on, leave him alone. But then here come the Lucha Brothers to save the day, and then the Lucha Brothers super kick the Young Bucks, who are just trying to keep the peace. Like, why would the Lucha Brothers all of a sudden? It's just totally wacky. It's all over the page. And like I said, coming up tomorrow, the Young Bucks, who were screwed by Don Callis 2 weeks ago, are now teaming with his tag team this week.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I was trying to think, like, how can they retcon this a little bit to make it somewhat sense? Maybe does Don Callis reveal that Kenny Omega is a spy and he's been with Impact the whole time? He's been an Impact employee the whole time. I mean, I'm trying to think a big reveal like that. And so it's like, my top Impact star is actually now the AEW champion. We're bringing the championship over here. But I mean, you already have an Impact championship world title. So what's the point of having the AEW championship show up there? You're just promoting this other company and their title. Like, like I said, I don't get it. Like, it would have made more sense maybe if Don Callis, did the initial guest commentary was at All Out originally when Kenny defeated Hangman Page and initially turned heel that night.
Not really. He just won the match clean, so he didn't really turn heel to the title change.
Oh my god, yeah. Which the Kenny Omega personality, the gimmick currently, I want to get into in a second as well, because I'm not fully invested in as well. That's a whole nother thing. But I was thinking, would it have been better if like Don Callis, says, "Oh, Kenny invited me here," and then maybe he starts bringing in more Impact guys with him, and they're like, "Oh, these are my friends. We were all special and guests," and like they sit ringside, but then they jump over the barricade and attack everyone. Then it's like, okay, actually like an Impact invasion, like Don Callis tricked people just to show up as a friend, but in reality it was a way to get his guys in to beat the crap out of them. And like, maybe the motivation is, you guys act like you're the second best company in America, but you only been around for just barely a year. We've been around overall Impact and TNA for 20 plus years. So where's our respect? I mean, that's an easy motivation right there. But then, I mean, obviously, it doesn't really make sense for Callis and Kenny to be teammates at the time, unless it was revealed like he's the third man, brother. I don't know. I mean,
on paper, just like for Impact, it seems like a positive because they'll get some more attention on them, like you said earlier. But really, other than that first night when Kenny showed up, they've been doing their normal rating, or they got barely any bump. They got less on their pay-per-view where Kenny wrestled and beat their champion clean, by the way, which is ridiculous as that is. Like, they should have some kind of cheating to win. Like, the rating that following after that pay-per-view did less than the week before. So Kenny hasn't really done much. Just hasn't done much at all for Impact. And that was botched from the beginning because, like, on that first episode of Impact, Scott D'Amore was like, we got Kenny. Instead of being like, hey, Don, like, what were you doing? And then Don be like, don't worry, man. We got Kenny Omega. We got one of the best wrestlers in the world on our roster now. He's going to wrestle for Impact. He's like, and Scott Moore's like, yeah, Kenny's great. That's sensational. But I wish you would have ran this by me first.
Create some tension there.
You kind of babyface Impact a little bit, right? If it's not going to be a promotion versus promotion thing, it's just going to be the Good Brothers Omega thing, right? That could be its own thing. But at least for the just don't make the company Impact look like dipshits. And don't make don't forget, Kyle. We got Rich Swann. He's a pretty good talent too. He's a pretty good world champion. And Kyle's like, oh yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's great. But we gotta have Mega, and then so they kind of has some kind of there's some conflict there for Omega and Impact, and then there's also, of course, conflict with AEW. That's why. Yeah, it's all over the page. But now you have Tony Khan being an asshole. But okay, Tony, but why are you an asshole here? If it's really not all of Impact doing this, it's just Don Callis. Yeah, he's part of it. He's not the management, right? So I don't know. It's just too much.
No, I'm with you, because it's like it just doesn't make sense from a motivation standpoint. With like I said, it's really confusing. It's individual parties from these different companies working together when it's not as clear and defined of it should be this promotion versus this promotion, and then you can easily create a conflict between the two there. But I'm just like, what's going on? And then my other thing too is, what's the long-term goal? What can come from this? My guess, eventually, I'm guessing Kenny's probably going to beat Rich Swann at some point for the Impact title.
It's not going to be the next pay-per-view. It's going to be Rich Swann and Moose.
Yes. Is that the one in February? Is that the one?
The February 13th, No Surrender, I guess it's called, or something like that.
Okay.
And then, before NXT. I know it's before NXT.
And then the Rebellion pay-per-view that they announced for April has the little Omega symbol in it. So I guess it's a clue that he's probably going to show up and work there. So does Kenny win the Impact title there, and then kind of starts the whole belt collector gimmick as far as, okay, he has AEW, he has the AAA Mega Championship still, and he has the Impact Championship, so he has 3 belts holding on to, that's part of the storyline there. But long term, I guess you have to build up a star to defeat someone from Impact to eventually to defeat him. Maybe could that be Moose down the road? I don't know. I'm
rather have to be Moose than Rich Swann. I'll tell you that. I mean, I like Swanee. He's a good little worker, but on the marquee main event, do you really see Rich Swann as he's to me, Rich Swann's a good talent in the middle of the show. He's a good show guy, good tag team guy. Him and Willie Mack would be a good tag team where they make great chemistry together. But at least Moose looks carries himself like someone. He's a big old guy, and I don't know, maybe Mego might not working with a guy like Moose. He prefers a guy more his style, like Rich Swann. But I mean, I think they made Rich Swann look like a complete goof in this whole thing. He's not going to be a champion. It's going to be Moose that takes the title.
So the other thing too, what I was talking about with Kenny Omega's character, and listen, I know this first year of AEW's existence, a lot of people thought they were just going to get a continuation of the Kenny Omega that they saw in New Japan. We didn't necessarily get that. He was really focused on being a tag team with Heyman Adam Page. And so a lot of people were like, where is the guy that we just saw with all those matches with Okada and Jericho? We're not kind of getting that same guy right now. And so in some ways, maybe his momentum was even kind of ruined because of that. Now, a lot of people were like, we want the cleaner again. We want that guy from New Japan back here in America. And so a lot of people were craving that. And so when he defeated Heyman Adam Page, but as you said, it was done clean. He beat him clean, no pun intended, and then all he did was Hangman, went for a hug or whatever, if I remember correctly, and then he just fell, and Kenny just stood out of the way and just walked out and told the Young Bucks, come with me if you want to, but he just left. So I was like, it wasn't the most official heel turn, but I guess that was the start of the heel turn there. And then all he did was really just put on sunglasses, and then all of a sudden he's flashy shirts, and it's okay, so he's a heel now, but it wasn't as defined. And my issue is okay, is he officially the cleaner again? But they don't really acknowledge it. And so and what I'm getting at is, imagine, I'm sure there's a lot of hardcore fans who know about the whole cleaner gimmick and what he did in New Japan, but imagine a lot of newer fans to AEW who just know Kenny Omega based on what his time so far on TNT. If you don't know about New Japan stuff, I think they've really done a lousy job kind of define and explain what that character is, or at least he as explaining what is the cleaner character. Like, even for me, I wasn't watching New Japan closely over the last few years, so I had to kind of go back and kind of research it. And, please confirm if I'm explaining right. The cleaner gimmick was more or less at the time him trying to clean out the juniors division, right? And become the top person in that weight class, win the title there, and then he eventually moved up to heavyweight and was dominating there.
He lucked out when AJ left to WWE and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows left. So, it left a spot for a leader for the Bullet Club. I guess the leader has always been like a foreign leader because Finn Balor first, AJ Styles. And so they went with Kenny Omega in that spot. And, people want the cleaner. They want Kenny Omega in New Japan and AEW. Like, those diehard New Japan fans who also diehard AEW fans want that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have that guy because you don't have the booker behind it. You don't have Gato.
Yeah.
You create it. Gato is a brilliant mind, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
He knew how to use Kenny to the best of his abilities, how to get everything out of him. I think he created the best bout machine. Like, he pushed him, he made him gave him those in that position. There's a natural storyline within Kota Ibushi that he was working towards and everything. Kenny Omega is just on his own and left his own creativity. Like, I don't think he doesn't have the editor like he needs, right? With like Gato was, like, kind of keep him on track. It's kind of like Vince Russo when he went to WCW. Oh, he's gonna just launch WCW, man. It's gonna be a whole new era with Vince Russo. But we found out like Vince Russo's the shits without Vince McMahon just editing out all his crap.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, he throws on the shades. I wish the announcers would explain maybe the importance of Kenny Omega wearing shades. Just little details. Just fill us in. Like, if we didn't watch New Japan, explain.
I don't think Jim Ross knows or Tony.
that is true.
He's probably itching at the bit to say every little detail about that crap.
But I'm like, at least kind of explain who is this persona that he's starting to do once again, and why should we care about this? And maybe, I don't know how much language they can use that like New Japan owns the rights to, but maybe explain like over his time in New Japan, he dominated in the juniors division and he cleaned out that division. Maybe play on words that way and just explain a little bit of what this character he's resembling once again that we saw a few years ago. So that, like I said, we didn't watch New Japan back at the time. At least we can kind of connect the dots in our head and start kind of getting emotionally involved. Like, oh, okay, so this is a heel he did once before, persona he had once before, but he's bringing it back. And, Hangman was kind of like the first victim of that.
It's just assume all the fans don't know anything about New Japan and just turn heel and do your own thing. Right? Yeah. Make it your own. Maybe he is. Maybe he thinks he is with this, flashy shirts and these
expensive shoes,
and all stuff. But also with his in-ring wrestling, is he still going to do the same thing he does before? Now he needs to heal a little bit. Now, a lot more. Now he needs to cheat more. He needs to do stuff. To me, he's still doing V-triggers and, Terminator dives and, just because he's, look at a crowd, the camera, with a little angry face and say F you doesn't mean you're a heel,
Yeah.
It's pacing, it's timing, it's a lot of other things that just, it's just like I say F you to the crowd. And so if you're still going to go out there and have these crazy matches and do all these crazy moves, like, people are going to cheer you still. So, they're just more in. They're just more in with it than actually giving you heat, right? Now, granted, there's not that many fans there to really get this heat. But I'm assuming if there was fans, the AEW fans would probably mostly cheer than they will boo. I think the only person they actually booed was MJF, but I think that was still kind of nudge, wink, wink. But when we talk about AEW, like one thing that just really frustrates me, like everyone always talks about. They have such great long-term storytelling. It's a long-term story. You can't grade it yet, but like how many stuff have they just these long-term stories that just automatically dropped from small stories to big stories? Like how long it took for the whole Kenny Omega Adam Page split up to where they just split up.
Yeah.
And like no breakup, no violent ending, nothing. Just it was just they had a tournament, they fell in the finals, they wrestled, and he just walked away from him. And yet Adam Page for a couple weeks was thinking they're still a tag team, but but he didn't get it that they weren't, so he's an idiot. I mean,
yeah, Kenny in his interviews was just acknowledging that tag teams in the past, he's going to be a single star again. And Hangman, was trying to hold on to some hope that they were going to maintain what they once had. But yeah, I'm with you. It's just like, flesh out these details. Yeah, like, okay, if Kenny, you're going to do the cleaner gimmick, explain what that gimmick is so people know. Or as you said, do a new heel persona and make something different out of it. Maybe Kenny has sunglasses on, but then takes them off and breaks them. It's like, you think sunglasses, is what defines me as a heel? No, I'll show you. You guys been wanting, like, that could be the promo. It's like, you guys just want the old Kenny from Japan. That's not what you're going to get. I'm going to dictate what you'd see. Something like that. It's just
show like Don Callis now is his representation. Even as EVP, he has no time to be there. He's not going to be at the meetings. Don Callis is. Now, Don Callis shows up. We're waiting for Kenny. Here comes. Where's Kenny? I'm here for Kenny. I'm speaking for Kenny. Kenny gave me carte blanche to say whatever. I'm speaking for him. And so you have these meetings with Cody, the Bucks, Tony Khan, and Don Callis is just being total carny salesman, just taking over. Yep. Oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna wrestle. Oh, you know what? We're not gonna wrestle on this Dynamite. No. Now let's there's a few more dollars for myself and for Kenny. Kind of be total jerks to where like the Bucks are like, oh man, we just can't take this guy. We gotta talk to Kenny, and Kenny keeps blowing him off because Callis keeps pushing him away, and it finally just leads to something. But this week coming up, they're teaming with the Impact Tag Team. The AEW Tag Team Champions, Young Bucks, are teaming with the Good Brothers. Why? I don't know. I'm sure this is a diehard AEW fan, and God bless you that you love it. But I'm sure on BTE that something happened. Well, I don't need to know on BTE because for the casual viewer, show something on their normal show.
Yeah.
They'll just throw me a graphic and be like, oh, now they're teaming after they beat up their manager or representative or something like that. Like, I don't know. It's just...
like I said, I'm with you. Like I said, from the time of like August to now, so what, the last 4.5 months, whatever it's been, this has become like the main big storyline in AEW. And yeah, just the plot holes between Kenny's character, this alliance with Don Callis as his manager, and now this crossover with Impact Wrestling. Like I said, it's just, like I said, all the loopholes, plot holes. Like I said, I'm a little frustrated because like I'm watching this and I'm like, this doesn't make sense theoretically. Like, maybe it would make more sense if the other guys on the roster be like, wait a sec, what's going on here? Like, can someone just speak up with some common sense? Be like, wait, what is this?
Someone tried to tell me like, well, this is just a long-term story. So when Adam Page beats Kenny Omega for the title down the line, I'm like, Adam Page is dicking around with the Dark Order for weeks, or months now. Like,
yeah,
what's that doing to just, get Adam Page ready for this big run coming up? Like, that poor guy, granted, the pandemic hit and there was no crowd, but still, he was organically, like, not Steve Austin level, but it was percolating that way with the cowboy shit and everything. Like, man, he's becoming something with this cowboy shit thing. You can feel it. I know the pandemic happened and the crowd wasn't there, but still, you can still present him as this badass guy of your company that's going to be this top babyface. No, now he's a drunk and
moping.
Doesn't know when someone doesn't want to be his tag team partner. Do you think Steve Austin would like, he'd just beat the shit out of that guy, right? Or just wouldn't care. Like,
yeah,
like he would know, like he'd be, because Steve Austin's always smarter than the heels, right?
Yeah.
And now, now Adam Page is damn near crying when he had to turn down the Dark Order to join the group. So
I was gonna get the whiskey and walk off. I mean, I was gonna say, like, the last time Austin seemed scared was total coincidence was the Royal Rumble, right? Royal Rumble 96 or 97 when Bret Hart came out and he looked at the watch. I mean, that was
still then he was still healed though. So
yeah,
he was doing that. But yeah, but
from that point on, he was not intimidated by anyone.
Yeah, I think Austin the heel wasn't taking advantage either. When he was with Vince, and that's a whole wacky story. But that's a whole.
I know that. I guess kind of one last thing I was just thinking, hypothetically speaking, however long this partnership is with Impact and AEW. I threw this out there on Twitter, the In The Kliq's Twitter page, a little poll. It ended 50-50, 50%, 50% number of votes. I'm like, oh, I didn't really get a defined answer. But, long term, AEW working with Impact, could AEW, and I think this is something you and I maybe touched on before in a previous episode. Can Impact be like their version of NXT for AEW? Like a developmental brand show. AEW has such a big roster now. In Dark is like for the really green talent out there in some ways. So some of them, the more established stars that need some little fine tuning, maybe send them to Impact and do some programs there and kind of develop their character more. I don't know. I just wonder that might be one benefit of all this.
That's what I thought. Like, why don't you send a guy out there that you're not really featuring right now, and either a guy like that or some talent that needs experience, you could send top flight out there to work some matches with, the Machine Guns and whoever, Eric Young and those guys to kind of help them out. And, while you don't have a storyline, instead of just throwing them on TV to wrestle random matches, they can have some kind of storyline. They get some experience on Impact, working that television because they never worked television before, right? And then when you're ready to push them or have them in a featured program, you bring them over. Send some of the ladies over. Send the Layla Hirsch to Impact. Let her gain some experience over there. Send Sean Spears treading water. Just throw him over there to Impact. Let him do some stuff right now. Keep him busy. Send Darth Luther out the door. Not even into Impact. Just past Impact. Just and Serpentor and a couple other guys.
Scorpio Sky hasn't been doing much lately. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Scorpio Sky. Oh, man, they're going to break him out of SCU. They're going to make him this big old single star. He wrestled Jericho, lost. Yay.
Right.
That was it. He wrestled Cody for the T title, lost. Yay.
That's what it was. Before I forget, you said it before on the Fight Games Facebook group, comparing Tony Khan to Vince McMahon in the USWA. Yeah. Can you just explain that connection real quick, just in case anyone who's maybe a little bit too young doesn't know that, like that reference or whatever? I mean, just what that connection is that you notice.
Well, the WWF and USWA, they were sharing talent, and Vince decided to do a heel gimmick there, kind of testing out the Mr. McMahon character before. And to him, I think he was just having a good old time, really, with it, and it was doing business, and it helped Memphis pick up a little bit, and Vince shows up on his first night. I think Owen was wrestling Lawler or something, or maybe Papa Shango or something weird, like because Papa Shango was there and all this stuff. Yeah. And Vince comes out there with Pat Patterson, and Vince, I think he tripped Lawler on her way around, like Lawler's running around the ring, not his opponent. I think it might have been Owen, and he puts his foot out, trips Lawler, is like a nuisance. And I think Pat Patterson's the one that did the physical interference and helped out. And so from the when I saw Tony Khan do his little infomercial with Tony Schiavone, and when he's putting his hands under his biceps to flex a little bit, I thought, I wonder if he's like trying to do the USWA if it's a gimmick. And then he shows up this past week at ringside with Jerry Lynn in the Pat Patterson gimmick, and Pat Patterson was the one that interfered. Jerry Lynn was the one that interfered in the match with the Private Party guys. So I could just see this is like Tony Khan having his fun, just like Vince did, but Vince a little better at it, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Tony Khan he could be a good heel because he has that little wormy look. I think but I don't know. That's the only just kind of like I could just see that solidified it. Last week solidified it. Tony, I know what you're doing, kid. And go ahead, have fun. Doesn't matter. No one's watching Impact anyway, so you can screw around with it.
You probably logged on to WWE Network recently. Probably saw old footage of that or something and started.
Unfortunately, that's not on.
Or is that Prime?
No, you can get that on YouTube. There's someone has it was post 7 years ago or something like that. Maybe a little longer, where he has it you should look up WWF versus USWA, and part 1, part 2, it just kind of goes through the steps, and you'll see Lex Luger showing up on USWA TV, which I had a kick out as a kid. Obviously, we talked about Max Luger. Shawn Michaels wrestling Jeff Jarrett at the Memphis Coliseum. South Coliseum.
Oh, awesome.
Perfect showing up versus Lawler. A little rivalry comeback. Papa Shango win the USWA title. They just did some stuff. It was pretty cool. And I remember hearing USWA for the first time on WWF TV, which was WWF never recognized anyone, right?
Yeah.
That was a trip. And I don't know if you remember 1995, PG-13 wrestling the Smoking Guns on Raw,
yeah.
And that just blew my mind hearing Vince McMahon say USWA, they're from the USWA group. And I'm like, whoa! It's just so that was a cool little thing, and it could have been WCW and USWA. That could have, but that never happened. Wow. It could have been WCW and Smoky Mountain, but unfortunately Watts got fired, and that never happened. So, and then Cornette, of course, became a work agreement. They had a work agreement not only USWA but also Smoky Mountain in 93, 94. It was pretty amazing. And that was the start, because USWA Memphis was the start of the developmental territory with Power Pro and what was that, 98, because that's where my buddy Mike Lockwood, Crash Holly, and Vic Ryans went there. And so that was the start of getting this ball rolling on developmental territories.
Wow. Oh my God.
A lot of stuff you can just dive into, man. It's pretty awesome.
I think we might one of these days, maybe bonus content or something, just all
watch
these...
along with you gotta watch just this man cutting a promo on Memphis TV with his jacket, his WWF sports coat, and of course he was a lot bigger back then, the bodybuilder Vince McMahon, and he just opens his jacket up and he has the USWA world title belt around his waist, because I think maybe Owen won it or something. And
oh my God,
out there stuff. I remember reading this stuff as a kid, getting the PWA magazines. I was seeing the pictures, and I remember that was one of the Memphis was the first territory I really wanted to see when I got tape trading back in the day.
Yeah, man. No, good stuff there. And listen, I feel like this is going to be an ongoing topic that you and I are going to touch on over the coming months as this thing plays out. So I hope there's some way to recover this, but I think at this point they're a little bit in deep now with the current storyline they have. I mean, we'll write it out as best we can and try to enjoy it and try to understand and translate in our head what's going on here. But
I don't think it's really going to add business at this point, unless they, like you said, they do something different to kind of clean things up. I think it's just going to be another one of their storylines. And I think with people's hope when it first happened, whoa, what is this going to be? It's not going to be NWO versus WCW or all that kind of stuff. It's just going to be their own little deal.
Well, and then also they wore Bullet Club gear at Hard to Kill, that pay-per-view. And I was like, how do you do that if New Japan owns the rights? So is New Japan on the horizon of being involved in this storyline as well? There's a secret partnership going. So
possibly. But what would New Japan really... I think I talked about this with... Who did I talk about this? Was it Garrett on the podcast? Or I just talked to privately someone? Maybe I was
You have so many comments that you forget now.
But what does New Japan do for them when it comes to ratings? Because I believe their hardcore audience already watches New Japan.
Yeah.
Unless there's the New Japan fans that just don't watch U.S. wrestling, maybe that, or I don't think those people are. I don't think that. I think it's more of a crossover with AEW and New Japan than it is with anything, right? So.
Yeah, it's
be interesting to see. I mean, it'll benefit New Japan, and I think the person they would like to get more New Japan would benefit from is getting Kenny back to do some big shows. Dakota, especially Dakota's champion now, so Dakota Bushi's champion, so that makes sense.
So maybe hypothetically, Kenny, if he gets the Impact title, so he has AEW Impact Mega Championship, could be the next title he goes after is getting back the IWGP Championship against his best friend, former best friend.
Has that been dropped, though? I haven't heard too much of the belt collector.
Yeah, they really emphasize it as much anymore.
Yeah, if he's the belt collector, wouldn't he really want that match with Swan for the title? Especially after he beat him at the pay-per-view just a couple weeks ago? Wouldn't he be the guy wrestling at No Surrender?
It's like I said, there's plot holes. I mean, listen, I think they filmed a lot of stuff for Impact in advance already, so it's how they're going to start injecting Kenny into those. Because I was thinking what happened back in December. Like, all their stuff was already pre-taped back in November for Impact.
They intercut that footage of them in that, like,
or trailer.
Bus. The bus. Yeah. The Madden bus.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, you and I will still watch it. And, hopefully, they'll figure things out and kind of make some sense out of it. But no, like I said, it should be interesting to see how this plays out. And, hopefully it'll make sense at some point. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and start wrapping things up for tonight, for this week's episode of In The Kliq. John, as always, thank you for making the time, breaking it down, making some sense of this chaos. Like, I feel like I'm the only one, like, I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, what is going on here? So I appreciate I have someone I can bounce off with all this stuff with. So, please tell the Kliqsters out there, where can they find you online?
You can find me at LaRocca.jl. You can find our Fight Game Twitter handles, Fight Game Media. Look for us on Facebook. Join our group. We have a great discussion of wrestling and MMA, boxing. It's a lot of fun. Check out our website, fightgamemedia.com. We have great content on there, and YouTube, and look for our podcast and our Patreon. If you want to subscribe, you can. We have Garrett and I are doing 1997 Raw reviews on Mondays. We have High Tension, talks about Japanese wrestling. I show up there every other week, talking about, like we just covered Vader recently, like his whole career in Japan, which is a lot of fun. And then we have,
talk about his eye busting out.
But we talked about that. Boxing podcast. We have specials with John Moxley, specials with Dave Meltzer. We have a lot of cool stuff on our Patreon, and a lot of great tiers for your budget, nothing too outrageous. So if you do, please subscribe, support us there. It'd be great.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, my brother's a big fan of Vader's time in Japan, Stan Hansen busting all that. That's great stuff. And then, I got to send you the video. I don't know if you saw the other day, Stan Hansen was doing like a virtual autograph signing, and Terry Funk crashed it. Terry Funk comes in, and he had a jacket from Rocky IV. He says, Stallone gave this to me. But he's like, yelling at Stan Hansen. It was like, two old friends going. It was hilarious.
Those are the characters I miss.
I know. Dude, it was hilarious. Like,
crazy, tough, and like scary. Like, you would not like want to cross those dudes.
Yeah, so Stan Hansen, Terry Funk.
Big deal, Bobby Lashley. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not scared of these guys.
No, it's great. I have to send you the video. I really enjoyed it. It was funny. And then, but the Patreon stuff, dude, that's awesome. And, on a boxing note, I guess you see with the Canelo fight happening on February, that looks like Revolution's going to be pushed back a week to that following Sunday. So, hey, man, power Canelo and boxing still very strong.
You don't want him to go up against a Canelo fight.
No. Absolutely. So, Baby Huey, follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter, Instagram at Baby Huey83. Please subscribe to In The Kliq on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you to everyone for taking the time, listening, sharing, commenting, leaving a reviewing, especially on Apple Podcasts. It all helps out a lot with the algorithm. Subscribing on YouTube as well. I've been trying to stay on top of things, getting episodes and highlights out there on YouTube. Like, literally my free time, like, at home is just editing all that stuff. Buy the merch over at Teespring. Thank you to everyone who's been buying in, tagging us, posting on social media. That really means a lot to me. Just, this baby project that's been doing for years now, and see it people representing. So that really means a lot to me as well. So, thank you again for all the continued support. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.